Hello, I'm Jack Cheeseman for Education Today. I'm joined here by Elliott Levine and Audrey Scozzaro Ferrazzini from Qualcomm Technologies. Guys, thank you very much for joining us today. So how should educators, technology providers and policymakers work together to create a level playing field for students across Europe and the world to increase access to devices?
I think that's a very good question. And the first thing is working together is already the first step. And then there are more. So it's not just about working, it's about understanding each other, for the technology provider to better understand the policymakers' need, and for the policymakers' need to better understand technology provider, the evolution of the technology, and the future technology requirements as well.
I think every stakeholder that comes into this has to recognize there are going to be direct benefits that they will see as a result of these investments. And whether that is a more skilled workforce, a more stronger economic base, these are the groundworks that result when everyone does come together with shared goals in mind.
So UNICEF claims that 1.3 billion children may not have internet access at home. That's a monumental amount. How long do you think it will take to significantly reduce that gap?
Much too long. And that's why it's important to act today and work together with policymakers in how we can really accelerate this transition.
I mean, if it takes a year, it's too long. But the only thing worse than a year is if we let this go 2 years. Unless we start to act now, we're not going to bring about this change. And yes, it is a monumental task. It's very easy to say it can't be done and move on. But there's too many children, too many lives really at stake if we don't do this.
The digital divide has the potential to impact students in developing nations for their entire lifetime. So whose responsibility is it to solve this growing issue?
I think it's your responsibility, it's mine, it's Elliott, it's all of us. We really need to find ways, to work together and go in that direction altogether.
I mean, there have been economic studies that have shown for every dollar invested in education at early ages, a nation will see that back fivefold, tenfold in economic growth, because you will have the skilled workforce and move from agrarian or natural resources to a more information-based society and economy. So it really is everyone's responsibility. It is the private sector, the public sector, and stakeholders combined that need to recognize that this isn't just about educating children. This is about investing in the future of a particular society.
The education sector is often grouped in industries that receive the least funding. How do you see this playing out with regards to investment in technology, both from a connectivity and a devices standpoint?
I think this is a very important question again, and the question on investment has changed post-COVID because, our government decided that clearly, this sector was a priority for them and as well for all nations. So the investment now in most of the countries is here. The question is how to really invest in the future, better understanding the technology, looking at what will be the future requirement. And that's a discussion that is very important to have today because those investments are quite massive. So, for policymakers, it's important to make it right, to invest in future-proof technology, that will not last 1 year, but probably like 3 to 5 years. And, technology is rapidly evolving, so the investment they are making today are important for tomorrow too.
I think we're seeing countries that are talking about this, but I also see that we have countries that are doing something about this. And the results they have in a few years are going to demonstrate an even further widening gap between connected and unconnected societies. And I think that will potentially be the rallying cry for many more nations to recognize if they want to see their economies flourish, they're going to need to make the investments, the commitments, the policies necessary for this to become a reality. And it will be a difficult change, but it's one that I think those early adopting nations will really start to blossom and recognize.
So what is next for Qualcomm in this space?
So what's next? Let's talk about the future and maybe this kind of virtual world that everybody are talking about, as well artificial intelligence, that everybody's talking about, and the combination of many technology. This is what's next for Qualcomm and what's next for educators. So maybe Elliott, you want to say a few words about XR, VR.
We get to have a lot of fun debating and exploring these possibilities. If we were to look at some of them, first, from a computing standpoint, I think we need to look at sustainability of technology. How can we make the traditional laptop last many more years than they currently do today? From a standpoint of transforming learning, both artificial intelligence and extended reality opens the door to really expanding the reach and the magnification of learning. Recent studies have shown that students can master concepts as much as 4 times faster in a virtual reality hands-on setting than they can in a traditional classroom. Plus, they're nearly 3 times more confident to actually apply what they learned, because they didn't just learn it by abstract or memorize a formula. They understood by doing it. And it made it incredibly relevant, and it brought the concepts to life. And that's going to be the fun over the next 10 years, as well as trying to bring digital poverty to an end. That's my goals before I retire.
Audrey and Elliott, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.